right, you bunch of yahoos, strap yourselves in for another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity.
In other words, shut up, sit up, and pay attention. And here we are. We're back for another episode of Toxic Masculinity. Tonight we are without the services of our co-host, Don the Predator Fry. He's got a few medical issues he's taking place, but we got Tony Martinez that is stepping up to the plate to help fill in and to make things going through. And yours truly, Dan to be Severn. We have a special honored, I should say, we're honored to have a special guest here this evening. We've got EJ Snyder. EJ Snyder, in my opinion, is a rock star in a lot of different ways. First off, he's an Army Ranger. He might be a retired Army Ranger, but once a Ranger, always a Ranger. You know, Ranger instructor, survival and tracking instructor, drill sergeant. Basically, when he wasn't filming Survivor shows, he basically regularly working as a survivalist and military consultant, world-renowned class survival instructor, writer, TV host, and legend on Discovery Channel's Naked and Afraid. CJ, I don't know what else to put in there. To me, it's like going, we talked off the air there for a little bit. As I said before, in my opinion, you're a rock star American because you've got that can-do spirit. You don't wait around and mope and cry. You just take charge and get things done.
Yeah, they don't call me the skull crusher for nothing. If there's an object or a problem or something in front of me that I can't open up a door and go through it, it's just a solid wall. I'm going to find a way around it, over it, or under it. And if I can't, I'm going right through it and going to smash the whole thing to smithereens for sure.
So, okay, when did you get the name, the nickname Skull Crusher?
The skull crusher comes back from my days in the Army. When I was a kid, I got bullied as a kid. Hard to believe. It's now I'm
really
6'3", 245, but then I was like kind of a little skull stick snapper instead of a skull crusher. So these kids would bully me. So my dad was teaching me how to box. In school, I was learning wrestling. I was too poor, growing up in North Jersey to afford karate classes with a single mom. So when my friends would come back from different karate classes, I'd say, "Hey, teach me what you learned today." And I was learning judo from one guy, taekwondo from this guy, jujitsu from this guy. So I started developing all these different styles to build my own confidence up so I could confront these guys. And I just fell in love with fighting. And I did it at, very amateur level, but I joined the Army. Anytime there was a boxing smoker or something going on, I was, trying to get involved with it. So I was in the barracks one night. We're having a barracks party, and there was this one guy there that was known for sucker punching people. And all of a sudden, he sucker punches. I see this hand come right by my head, hits my friend, splits his eye open. He goes down. I'm just like, what the hell? I throw the guy down. I go to tend to my buddy. He's going to need stitches. Like, we got to get you to the hospital, dude. You got a pretty good gash. Next thing I know, I feel this glass breaks across my head. To this day, I still don't know if it was a bottle or a beer mug. And I stood up, and that red got my eyes. And I turned around to him. I was like, "Son, you're better off sandpapering a grizzly bear's ass and fuck with me." And I jumped on him. I was on him hard, and I'm pounding him. I knocked him down, ground pounded him. They pulled me off. I was like, "Fuck you, I'm out of here." Get my buddy to the hospital. The next morning, I show up to formation. This guy's all patched up, and apparently I fractured all of his cheekbones and everything else. But they gave him a penalty for being drunken not with his wits. And they didn't do nothing to me, but all the guys were like, "Hey, what's up, Skull Crusher? What's up, Skull Crusher?" And I was like, "Whoa, okay." I'm glad the guy I didn't kill him, but I hit him like only 4 or 5 times, but it messed him up pretty good. So
No one wants to mess with the Skull Crusher.
That's what's wrong with the world. It's like too many people think they can get away with anything they want to say. And I'm like going, I think, again, Mike Tyson, he has, I'm sure his line's been used many, many times. Everyone's got a plan until someone punches you in the face. But to me, it's like the same way when people start to say things, you can say almost anything you want until someone takes offense to it and actually physically challenges you.
That's an eye for real.
Yes, exactly. We live strange times because, like I said, you're of an older vintage, just like myself, and you've seen you've seen the United States change a
Yeah.
great deal, not necessarily in the right direction, but we do live in a world of electronics, that cell phone device, they're everywhere. And you see all these people that they're watching a fight, but they're just watching a fight and they're filming the fight. Is anyone actually stepping in to stop it? No, they all
Right.
want to. Am I getting more hits on my YouTube list, or am I getting more hits on my
Right.
TikTok or whatever? I mean, it's ridiculous instead of just stepping in there or taking the side of the person who was righteous in the first place. Because to me,
Yeah,
it's like,
they
Go
really
ahead.
seriously, it's real big and brave. And I tell people, if you're going to write something, put it, you can have your right to an opinion. I fought 2 wars for you to have that, but make it sure it's well thought out. Do your homework on whoever you're talking about. And if you start looking at your certifications, you're not more qualified than that person to comment on maybe what they're doing for a profession, then maybe you probably shouldn't say it. And damn sure, if you're not going to say it to that person, if you met them in face to face, probably should say it.
yeah, well, that's we have when
Nowadays,
when you have
people grow up
children.
with no repercussion anymore. People
Well,
think they
again,
can say whatever they want when they're behind that cell phone or the
Yeah,
keyboard.
well, just look at ever since they took away corporal punishment out of our school systems. Now you
Mhm.
have kids that come to school and they look right at you and they go, touch me, and my parents are going to sue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. To me, it's like going, I remember going into classrooms and those, the teacher would have that paddle proudly on display. It even have, burned into a board of education. And if you got out of line, you're brought to the front and you would be administered, a couple swats, 2-3 swats, depending on what you did. And done.
Yeah.
It's, when I look at it, that in today's world, parents are no longer parenting, or there are no more repercussions. Just kind of going, well, let's have a timeout, little Johnny. Yeah. Little Johnny's ass needs to be beat is what needs to happen here. There's no
Yeah.
repercussion. Again, I'm not saying send the kid to hospital,
Right.
follow through with a couple swats or something like that.
I always say in my business, especially survival business, or even in the world, hard times don't last, but hard people do. You don't do people favors by coddling them, giving it to them in an easy day. When I was a drill sergeant in the Army, I made sure that, I'm sending these kids off to maybe one of my buddies and they're going to have to take them to war. And they're going to say, who was your drill sergeant? I say, oh, it was Drill Sergeant Snyder. And now if that guy's a piece of crap, then that comes back on me. So,
Sure.
I took it very, I'm going to put these guys in battle. I've got to be hard on them. So that way, when it's time for them to do what they got to do and squeeze the trigger and make some other poor bastard die for his country, then I need him to be ready to do that. And you don't do that by coddling people, do them no favor.
Okay. What do you think here now? Because now I've read this in a few different places that there's this thing called a yellow card. In the military now, I could simply come up to you and go, Commander Snyder, I'm having a bad day. I need to use my yellow card because you're being just too mean. You're just being too hard on me.
In my days as a drill sergeant, that thing had probably got tore up and sent somewhere like they probably ate it and swallowed it. I didn't have to deal with any of that when I was there. There was some rumors about some stress cards, but I made sure those individuals from day one understood that I was going to do some things to make them very uncomfortable, probably not like me, but it was for their benefit so that the day would come when they were sitting on the line shooting rounds down range, then they would understand. And then they would thank me. And I would feel that in spirit. And that's what my drill sergeant had told me. And it sat with me all those years and it saved my ass for real. And I was like, wow, now I know what Drill Sergeant Mallet was telling me when he was in my face, dragging me from one end of the barracks to the other. I got it. I was a jerk. So he fixed that jerkness out of me.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I've never been involved in was military. That's one thing that, when I was going through my athletic career through high school and that, I kept thinking, well, by the time I get to be a graduated senior, how am I going to be able to go to college? How will I be able to pay for it? Because the thought of ever asking mom or dad for money never entered my mind, because I had 7 other brothers and sisters. I'm second on
Yeah.
the totem pole. That never entered my mind, because they're feeding and clothing 8 kids. That I'm not going to ask it, but a couple of my friends had older siblings that, upon high school graduation, they did go into the military, come out,
Right.
and went to college on the GI Bill. So that was actually my first thought. I'm going to do that for myself. But then by my sophomore year, when I had some colleges starting to look at me going, hey, you've got some potential here, keep up the good work, I thought, okay, I have option number 2. So I'm always big about preaching to people, create options for yourself, so that, yeah, it's always better to have a couple options. It's only other than just one,
Yes, for
so
sure.
that's what I've always been big about.
Yeah, I know back in the days, I graduated in '84. So going through the '80s, the computers were just kind of starting to come around. They really weren't a full thing. So they managed you on athletics by sport cards or whatever. And then, my family, my mom, my parents got divorced when I was young. So my mom and stepdad, we moved around from town to town. So I went to 3 different high schools. They're like, and I went to different, as soon as you move within the county, you're probably maybe okay. You go 2 counties over, forget about it. They don't know where you're at. And so all my sports scholarships were just, where is that kid at? And I would show up at this school, show up at that school. And then one time I was in the Army in basic training, drill sergeant calls me up there. He says, you got a letter from Boston College. What do you think this is? Some kind of garbage? You're going to go off to school now? You're not going to stay here, son? I was like, only 2 weeks of basic training. I was like, drill sergeant, no, sir. Take your letter and go over there and you read it. You don't bother us about it. I was like, okay. And it said I had a full ride to play linebacker up at Boston College. And I was like, wow, that was my dream. But all right, I guess I got to go do KP now, because that's what I signed up for.
Yeah. Was any other family members involved in military at that time?
I had.
Did you have did your stepfather, did your real father, or any other family members in military?
Both my grandfathers were World War II vets. My one grandfather was an 82nd paratrooper. The other was an infantryman on the Pacific Islands. And then I had an uncle in Korea and another uncle that went to Vietnam, but really wasn't a factor in my life, because everybody that went in the military got drafted. I was one of the first ones to volunteer to go in. That sense of adventure kind of, talked to me. Of course, it was during the time of Johnny Rambo movies, so that was very influential in out there surviving. That's, I think, what was the draw. And I'm just getting that now, that he was out there and he was killing the hog and he was living off the land. I was like, man, I want to be like that guy, but for real. And I think I wound up being that guy in the end. Even though he was a fictitious character, it was, that's what thrilled me. I was like, I want to go in and be self-sufficient. I want to be a fighter, a warrior, protect the weak, and be able to live off the land like that dude and make it happen. And be able to.
Well, where you grew up at, I mean, did you have any kind of this around you in the first place? I mean, for any kind of like rules.
Yeah, I was in North Jersey, so I'm up there near New York City. But my actual biological father was he was a carpenter. But on weekends, he was born in the wrong area. He should have probably been born in Colorado and maybe at a different era as a cowboy, because he would get us on the weekends and we would go to the woods out in Western Jersey, upstate New York, out to Pennsylvania. We would hunt, we would trap, we would fish, we would camp. And when we were back in around the Meadowlands, my dad and I would actually go into the Meadowlands and trap for beaver pelts and muskrat, and we'd sell them. So he really got me into the outdoors. So anytime I could find anywhere that was woods, or I'd come home with water moccasins from my mom from the creek, and she's like, you can't keep those. I'm like, oh, they're just pets. They're snakes. She's like, they're poisonous. White mouths. She's like, no, that thing will kill you. I'm like, okay. So I got exposed to there. And then the Army took me to the next level. I was in the infantry. We're always outside. I started doing a lot more outdoor activities, had a short stint in scouting. So all that influence. And then I went to Ranger School in 1988, got exposed to formal survival training classes. And then I would just, in my Ranger handbook, that's all I would study was the survival stuff. So when I became a Ranger instructor, they made me the primary survival instructor in Florida. and they sent me to the Army SEER School, which teaches you how to survive behind enemy lines. So you get wilderness survival training, escape and evasion, how to break out of things, hot wire cars, break out of restraints, and then you learn how to resist questioning and other uncomfortable things in a mock prison camp. And then I came back and was a primary survival instructor for 3 years and fell in love with it. Started teaching it on the side to whoever would want to learn with me or practice with me. And back then it was like, Y2K's coming. It's like, oh, I better get ready, because if the world flips, I want to be ready for me and my loved ones. So I wanted to be the best survivalist on the planet, and that was my goal. So then I went on, got out of the military, went on to teach at the Special Warfare Center down at Fort Bragg, Green Berets, taught them how to survive behind enemy lines, went in the SEER program for 5 years, was doing TV on the side. But then it was like, 2012, yes, the world's going to flip. The zombies are coming and all this. And all right, better get ready. And it never happened. But I kept up my drive. I got involved with some TV programs that inspire people, not just to get outside and learn survival and live outdoors, but also how to be, with me, I've inspired people to get the positive mindset, because anything going wrong in your life, if you have a positive mindset, you can get through any problem, whether it's an addiction, a relationship problem, trouble in schoolwork. If you set your mindset into a winning mindset, a positive mindset, a can-do attitude, like you said, you can do anything. And through that model, I became an example for so many people. Put my naked butt on TV, I did not see that coming. That I'm millions of people across the globe, and actually, maybe you can see it right there. I am now ranked the #1 survivalist in the world out of 100 known survivalists.
Wow. That what an honor that is. I mean, that just so cool. So cool.
I'm humbled by it, because there's a lot of good names on that list, and you probably know a bunch of them, and that's just a great group of people to be associated with.
Well, just to back up a little bit, to get to be an Army Ranger. I mean, that's a very elite category in itself. How many people that go into Army ever make it up to that Army Ranger status?
I went through the Army when they were doing what they called the Ranger 3000 program. So they were trying to get 3,000 Ranger qualified enlisted men in the Army to have their Ranger tab and be Ranger qualified, serve in Ranger positions. And I was part of that drive. And that was the epitome of being a soldier. To be that commando in the infantry was to be a Ranger, just like being a non-commissioned officer. To be the epitome of the non-commissioned officer was a drill sergeant for me. So I did that. And I went to Ranger school before that, and it was tough. I think the original class I went in with was 288 people went into the class. Only 76 people made it through the first time. 76. That's a pretty high attrition rate.
When they how they quit, how was that signified?
Well, it's either they failed too many patrols, they didn't pass the standards for doing combat patrolling. You get put in a leadership position, you get graded, and if you don't make the task, then you don't pass. And so, you get a no-go, as they would say. And if you got if you got more no-goes than you've got goes, no, you missed something. Okay. So they put you in a recycle phase, and then you go back through it again. If you pass it, you keep moving on. For me, it was, I want to be the standard of excellence. So for me, failing in my life has never been an option. Ever since I've been a little kid, I knew I could only count on this guy right here. And so when I'm getting picked last for sports, I didn't like that feeling. So I went out and learned every damn sport possible. Not that I wanted to be the best at any of them. I just didn't want to get picked last. So that was my
sure. I understand.
Yeah. So bullies are picking on me. Well, they're not going to pick on me no more. I'm going to go stand up for other kids that are getting bullied. And I learned how to fight. I go in the military. I want to be the best I can. So the Rangers, that was it. That was the best there was out there. And I've been living by that Ranger creed since 1988, ever since. And even to this day.
Wow. Let's jump into Naked and Afraid. How did you find out about this in the first place? Or did they approach you, or did you see something and you sent something in, call somebody? Or
they tried me out for a show called Dual Survival. And they
Dual?
replaced, dual survival, where you
Okay.
have two different mindsets on survival. One's more of a bush hippie, bushcrafter type, man of the, a woodland kind of a guy. And then you have kind of a military guy. And they get thrown into a situation and they got to work together to figure out how to get through that scenario. So I tried out for it. They were replacing one of the original hosts. Another guy kind of beat me out. We'll just leave that where it was with his fake resume and everything. But they said, EJ, we love you. We'll give you a call. I was doing some other stuff at the time. I was doing a venture race in Fiji. I was drinking my beer because we had lost the race. We didn't win the 100 grand on the race. And I got a call. And I'm looking out the window as these waves are breaking in. And it's a guy, Steve Rankin was the showrunner. He says, mate, Discovery loves you. We told you we'd call you back. We've got this new extreme survival show. You're one of the most qualified survival guys we've come across our roster in a long time. We think you would be great. You're very tough, and you got that military mindset. We want to put you in Tanzania and see if it works. So I said, all right. So as the weeks go on, I'm having meetings with these guys. So they say, oh, yeah, minimal gear, minimal gear. Then it starts to be like strip poker. Oh, well, we're going to take away your backpack, and that's it. Oh, we're going to take away this other gear. We're going to take away your shirt, your pants, your shoes. I'm like, dang, all I got left is my underwear. So he's like, yeah, you're just going to go out there naked with a couple items. I was like, and I thought they were joking, really. So I show up in Africa. I've signed the contract. Me and Kelly are out there, and I'm throwing my clothes. They're like, all right, you get off here. You're going to go meet your partner. Now take your clothes off. I was like, you guys are serious? So I start throwing my clothes off, throwing my shoes in there. And running through my head is, am I going to have a seat at the VFW anymore? What's my mom going to think? Oh, my God. Am I still going to have a job when I get back? And I was like, oh, well, you guys are paying, I'm playing. And so we filmed the very first Naked Afraid episode, 21 days. I was also brought in to, while trying to survive, consult on the show and help build a hit series with the producer. So I'm doing 3 jobs at one time. My partner, she's surviving. That's her job. I'm secret meetings behind a rock trying to figure out how we can make a show out of this. And nobody knew what they were doing. When I met my partner, I pull out this crappy map that looked like a kindergartner drew it. And I says, all right, Steve, so 21 days, this is our playground. Where the hell you want me in 21 days? He's like, oh, there's an X on the map. I'm like, there's no X on the map. He pulls a Sharpie out and he goes, oh, give me that. Right there, mate. That's that mountain right there. 21 days, you'll be up there. A helicopter come get you.
That'd be your extraction point. Okay, I got your extraction point, all right?
Point. And I'm like, so what now? He's like, well, go do your survival stuff. We'll follow. I'm like, all right, Kelly, let's go. And little did I know that those first few steps would walk into history. It's been a hit series ever since it started. It became addicting to people. I was getting bashed. Yeah, I was getting bashed for 6 months until Good Morning America did a little pilot on it and people started to understand it. And it's been a hit series for 14 regular seasons where you have 21 days, strange man, strange woman, naked, survive 21 days. And then we have the XL version, which has done 8 versions of that. I've been on 3 of those, where it started out initially 40 days. Then they wanted to push the envelope and they let a couple people go out for 60. And then the 40-day people joined them later on. And then they decided, let's try 60 days with 12 people. And then I did that one. And now I just went out again. They had this last season. It was 4 people trying to make 60. And then each of them had 2 people underneath them trying to go for 40. And at the end of 40, they could just say, well, I want to stay 60 now and try to go 60. So it's an incredible season. The first week they had 6 people tapped out, gone.
So you weren't supposed to be on this last season.
I wasn't supposed to be there. And then they called me up. They called Matt and Jeff and asked if we would come down to help. And that's what I did. Went in there not to be the hero, not to take anyone's thunder, but to help the people that were left. And then I went in and did 43 days. One of the other guys that went in with Jeff, he didn't make it. He got sick. He only lasted maybe 9 days and he was gone. And me and Matt, we stayed with them. So we had 2 people finish 40 days. And then me and Matt got 4 people, helped them out. And then we got them to 60 days. But to Amber, Steven, Waz, and Dan. I mean, unbelievable effort. You know, they would have made it on their own. They were that tough. But it was really nice to have them around. I was with Steven before. He was the main guy I was with. He did 60 days with me in the swamp, so I knew what kind of kid he was. So
Yes,
I just need to hang out with him, and we hang out outside the show, so we have a great time together. So,
Well, typically on this show, they always say that you're allowed to bring one item.
yes.
One item that what was that? What was the one item that you typically would bring with you?
For me, my number one survival item, as you can go to my website, ejsnyder.com, I talk about it all the time. It's a survival knife. This is a little outline of the knife I designed. The first knife I took to Africa broke. When I got back from Africa, I said, I'm never going to let that happen ever again. I need a one tool option. That one's from Tops Knives, called the SXP Skull Crusher Extreme Blade. It's the most used blade on the show. And probably Matt Wright. He's also a knife maker. He makes his little Savage blades that people take. A fixed blade, meaning it's full metal all the way through the handle, is so critical.
I know, because I kind of looked at it. I saw it when, on a couple of the videos that you're in, but when I saw it there, it kind of reminded me of a little bit of like a tomahawk. But I go, but that's a blade all the way down below that. So I said that's a multifunctional type of a blade. So can you explain a little more the
because you chop so much wood. Yeah, you're building stuff. You're chopping so much wood. You have the draw blade. You can carve with it. You can gut. I did a video on my website, a knife only video, where I go out for like 3 or 4 days with just that knife and show how to survive with just a knife. I did a whole video series on basic survival, but that's the final chapter of those series of 11 videos, is just knife only. And so everyone gets to bring one item. I brought a knife. That one broke out there the first time. Kelly brought a pot. The second time we went to the Amazon, 3 people quit that time. Me and a girl named Laura Zera, who's the best female survivalist on the planet. We went in there, and we were the first 2 to ever do it twice. And everyone, even the locals, said, nobody could do this 21 days. She brought a knife. I brought a fire starter with a magnesium end on it, so we could.
Did you guys communicate before? Does the know that, okay, I got a knife, you got a fire starter, you know you got a good combination, or just luck out?
On that one, didn't you have to use?
1 through 4.
Didn't you have to use whatever they left that time? Because I think you said 3 people left that before you got there, right? And that's what they took in.
Yeah, one guy never got off the boat, so they brought a replacement guy in for him. Those 2 people came in with a machete and a fire starter. Mm-hmm. So we brought items that you normally do 4 items, and you number them 1 through 4, and the producer and the local survival people figure out what you're going to have the best chance of survival out there. And so when we went in, they decided we want EJ and Laura to bring in the same 2 items, a knife and a fire starter, as the people that tap, so we can see how it can be done. So we went in that time with a knife and a fire starter. I killed a 6-foot electric eel. That was our main meal out there. Yeah. Built this amazing raft to get us out of there. That's what we're most known for on that episode.
I know Tony's got a couple questions for you about the eel. So go ahead there, Tony.
So the first I saw you guys kill the first one, and it didn't look like it shocked anybody really. I mean, at least what they showed on TV.
Yeah, the first eel I ever killed with Laura was in a water hole, like a pond. So the Amazon River floods and then it recedes, and so there's pockets of little ponds and lakes in the Amazon when you get in the jungle. And we found that one. I think he was in a hibernative state. Okay. So when I hit him, or I severed his spine right off, because he didn't shock me.
Yeah.
But when I went the next time to Colombia for 40 days, and I was on the alpha male team with Jeff and Hakeem, we lost Hakeem after a week. And so it was just me and Jeff, and we picked up Shane along the way. Mm-hmm. The 3 of us went in there, and that electric eel came in there, and that one shocked the living dickens out of us.
Yeah.
I think Jeff took 4 hits. I took 7 hits from that thing.
That thing throws out like over 500 volts, something like that.
It's they said it's like 600 to 700 volts. Yeah, each shock.
Wow. And then even being in water, I mean, that has to shock. I mean,
yeah, it's conducting in the water. So you're like,
I remember seeing Jeff hit him with the knife, and
oh yeah,
man, that's
hitting crazy. With the knife, and you're getting shocked. It's letting off electricity all through the water. On the 4th one, it hit Jeff in the heart. I had him sit down.
Yeah.
So then I went in there and I'd start hacking on it. And I hit it about 7 times. And on the 7th one, it hit me in the heart. Shane comes down. He's an electrician by trade. He's been zapped all the time. So he goes in there in one swing, gets the zap, but he cuts the thing in half. It's like, oh, that, and talk about good eating.
Yeah. What's been the best thing that you've eaten out there?
The swamps, it's a tie. The swamps, we had armadillo. And armadillo, we put in this can cookers like a pressure cooker. After we pulled the bones and the guts out, it literally has its own fats, oils, and seasonings inside itself. The most delicious food I've ever ate in the wild in that situation. And then when this time in the Amazon, our guy Matt, who's legendary with this bow.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He was nailing the comungo bird, which is a turkey, a wild turkey.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, the horn screamer. The sucker's got these big thorns at the end of its wings on each elbow. And if you come at him, he's going to back up and get to a spot where he can just defend himself. And you'd appreciate that, Dan. He'll hit you with those spikes pretty fast and make you sing another tune.
Like Matt made a necklace out of those, right? It was awesome. I saw.
Yeah, he made a necklace with a couple of them. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I used the birds I had in this. You'll see in the series I had hanging from my neck was actually its pelvic bone, but it looked like a weird skull. And I was like, "What the heck you got there?" I says, "Oh, that's the chupacabra. That's the chupacabra skull."
The chupacabra. I like it. So what are those? I saw now you have obviously, was it 6 of those little? What are those made out of? Hemp or?
All right. So these
what are
those
beads symbolize?
Yeah, all these little round beads, one for every challenge I've been on, and I got 6 of them.
Yeah.
They are actually a microphone.
That's what I thought.
There's a microphone out there. The wire runs down the strap that goes over your shoulder, and in the bag is a transmitter in a waterproof bag. Now, if you're going to go deep submersion or at night when they got to recharge the stuff, they give you a fake necklace and another bag. And then you just diary cam. They've got cameras in the camp. So it's an honor to wear these. I am in the camp of you don't wear them unless you made at least 21 days. You know, for each one you pass, you get it. There's only 3 of us that are 6 challenges and no taps. Me, my partner, Stephen Lee Hall Jr., and Max, who was my partner in the swamps, who came and found me. And Matt has 6 challenges, but he's got 7 challenges, 1 tap, but he's got 6 of these as well.
And his was due to medical issues, right?
Yeah, he had a medical tap the first time he was in the Ecuadorian Amazonian jungle. Now, this was a gift. It's a jaguar's tooth a chieftain out there was a good friend of mine from the first time I was out there, gave that to me. It's got a special piece of wood and a prayer bead on it. And then down the line, we got a black bear claw, because we got stalked by a black bear in the swamps, and I wanted to honor that. Nice, yummy gator. That's a gator tooth. And next, I got a wolf tooth, 1 wolf fang, representing each of the wolf packs that were stalking me when I was in the Bulgarian mountains on my alone naked afraid challenge. So I wanted one. The wolf is my spirit animal, so I got a lot of respect for him. And so I wanted 1 fang to represent each of those 2 packs. And then lastly, a caiman tooth each, because caiman's yummy.
Yep. What say that?
Worst thing I ever ate, tadpole soup. Oh, Kelly made that for us in Africa. It was the most god-awful thing I ever put in my mouth.
So back to your first show. What was it like the first time you walked up on another naked person in the wild?
It was different. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable in my own skin. Here I am for the world to see. So that really didn't bother me. But I'm an old-fashioned guy. And in that time, I was still thought on gender roles and stuff was still pretty traditional. You know, men are men, women are women. Not saying that she couldn't be a good outdoors woman and help, but I also wanted to be gentlemen. You know, I want to be a gentleman out there. And then she just jumped up and hugged me. I said, okay, we just throwing that out the window. That's all good. Yeah. And that really broke the ice. And we both laughed about it later on. And
how old were you? How old were you, EJ, for that first episode?
I was 47.
47. Wow. Still, that's incredible, though. You
know, he started late, just like you, Dan.
Yeah, 47.
And you both dominated. That's, and you both dominated what you do. It's amazing. You guys are, like I said, they broke the mold. They need more men in this world like you guys.
It's been quite a journey,
especially with you growing up in. I mean, you growing up in you said North Jersey. I mean, what part?
Yeah.
I've been through all through New Jersey, quite a bit through for my professional days. I went almost every other month. I was going into New Jersey practically for the National Wrestling Alliance. So I traveled all through there. So what parts of New Jersey are we talking about?
I was in mostly in and around Hackensack.
Hackensack.
Grew up, yeah, Hackensack. My folks live in New Milford. I was in Paramus. Graduated from Lyndhurst High School. Spent some time out west in Hackettstown, but mostly, you know, in and around right there around Hackensack, Cresskill, Paramus, South Hackensack, New Milford, and Lyndhurst.
I mean, that was the first time going through there. Everything, all the restaurants, they're known as diners. That was the first time I ever seen it. I kept thinking, why every place is known as a diner here in this state. I mean, it's like, you know, where other places that they'll have all their individual names, but it's always diner this, diner that. But you know,
they're big things. Or you got a pizzeria on every corner. You know, it's pretty interesting. I mean, pretty much I tell people, well, what'd you grow up in Jersey? Like, you know, Tony, the Sopranos, the TV show, when they go through the Montauk, that was my neighborhoods. When you know, Jersey City, all in those areas, you know, that's where my stomping grounds were.
and what's the most the gas stations that are out there? They're all. I mean, I noticed that was the first time I've seen it, but there's the same brand all across the state. It's like a very common one for the state of Jersey, but it's not back in Midwest or Western states at all.
I know they got Luke Oil, which is actually a Russian gas company.
Now it was all where you mean literally you go in there and then you get all kinds of cool food and stuff like that, but it's not back. Wawa's, there you go, Wawa's. Yeah, Wawa's. Exactly. That's the first time I ever went into a Wawa. I'm thinking, what the heck is a Wawa? I'm thinking, what name does this represent or something like this? But yeah,
apparently it's some kind of a bird. That bird that's on the sign. Apparently, I still don't think I really know all these days.
Yeah. Well, again, I fell in love with the Wawas because I mean, literally one stop, I could get all between just get my gas tank filled up and get myself something to fill me up. Keep on going.
To this day, they have gas jockeys out there pumping the gas.
Yes, that's surprising because first time I get out, I'm starting to pump my gas. The guy's like, "No, you can't do that." I'm thinking, "What?" And he's like, it shocked me the fact that I think it's the only state that actually does still pump your gas for you.
Yeah. There's just a few other states but it's in like one or two towns or cities, and then I think one county in upstate New York.
What kind of projects you got coming up? I mean, what's on the horizon right now for you, Jay?
So right now, I'm the senior chief survival consultant and safety advisor for a guy named Mr. Beast YouTube. Everybody, you know, if you find him on YouTube, he's a very popular YouTuber. He's probably in the top 3 and the top 3 earners. And he does these crazy stunts. And he started when he was 12 years old. He's only 22 right now. The guy is really a great spirit. He likes to donate a lot of money to amazing causes. And his videos get hundreds of millions of views all the time. So he wants to do these little survival stunts. So I'm not going to say what ones we're doing right now, but we're getting ready to put them out there for 100 hours in different scenarios. And I'm going to be on camera with them. My website, ejsnyder.com, just got revamped. I've got a brand new, the ultimate bug-in and home defense video comes out July 26th. You can get on my website if you sign up with your email. That way you don't miss any of the alerts, the updates, or blogs. But 90% of the world isn't they say bugging out. You're not bugging out anywhere. We learned from the pandemic that most people are just going to bug in where they're at, stay right in their home or wherever their domicile is. And if they do bug out, they're only going somewhere to bug in anyway. So this video will give you all the preparedness, ins and outs, the stuff to get, the items that you might want to look at on every budget, from a low budget to a medium budget to someone has a lot more money to put into it. And a way to do it in a hybrid way. Maybe spend more money on one thing that you think is more important versus something else. And then we're going to talk about the home defense situation, because once you got your stuff all on the shelves and everything, defense is key. And how do you do that? And then when you get to, after you get through the 5 Ds of the defense, and they're coming through the door and you've got to go, you got to have a plan. So he talks about all this stuff. And so it's going to be a great video. I've got a ton of other survival videos for purchase up there, along with survival gear, all the services I offer. I mean, my survival training contact forms are coming in left and right because I do survival training classes for basic and advanced. I offer some like dual survival, naked and afraid adventures. I offer campfire chats. Maybe you don't want to go out and work on survival, but you want to come hang out, ask questions of me about my adventures or whatever. Okay. We do a campfire chat. Sit around the campfire. We grill up some food, drink some whatever your favorite beverage is, and we just talk story, answer questions in the morning. I'm making you a campfire scrambled egg breakfast with coffee, and so it's a great thing. It's great for families. It's been very popular. And now I'm going to start appearing at a bunch of NASCAR events with Jeff Earnhardt. So I'm going to be traveling, doing appearances while they're doing autograph signing. I'm going to do the same thing and meet people. I'm all over the world or the country for the most part, but I was just out west. I went from Arizona to Utah, up to Idaho, went to Yellowstone, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, did a big 6-week, 6,000-mile tour. I was going in my F-250 with a 5x8 behind me with all our off-grid camping gear in it. And they said, where are you going? So I'm going to camp out the Colorado River by Base Camp Adventure because I want to camp out by the Colorado River and be on that side. You can't go up that trail. That's a Jeep trail. Hold my beer. Better get out of my way because I can't turn around with this thing. We had a boulder come down, and the boulder come down, hit the truck, bounced off the 5x8, came back, hit the bumper, rolled off about 900-foot drop off. I was able to stay, thank God, not have that thing flip. And
wow.
I came rolling in after 6 weeks to my trailer guys because I bought it brand new. I was like, hey, can you guys fix this? I'm like, what the hell happened? Moab happened, of course. It was like, looked like Clark Griswold. The fender was hanging on,
wow.
The tire was wobbly.
Well, I mean, what time frame was this that you were out there by the Yellowstone? Because I know Yellowstone kind of got devastated a little bit with some storms and that.
It was around the month of April. I got down towards the end of it, right when they did. I was at Yellowstone on opening day, and there was a blizzard going on, and we were in there, and I went over there and watched Old Faithful go up. Childhood dream of mine is to see this place, and I'm sitting there with only 12 people getting ready to watch Old Faithful. And it was amazing. We got to see bison covered in snow, like you see with the icicles coming off their mouth. And I'm like 10 feet away from this magnificent creature. It was, oh man, it stole my heart. That is a place that every American should go visit.
Well, again, I'm supposed to be heading out to Cody, Wyoming, which is not that far from it, for an event here in less than 2 weeks. And, that was one of my things I was looking to do was simply because it's so close. Why not head on over there? But I kept thinking, I did not know what kind of shape Yellowstone was in.
It's having a rough
after
time
all
right
that took place.
Yeah, it's having a rough time right now.
Yeah.
Having a rough time. My friend who's on Mountain Men, his name's Josh Kirk. He lives out in Lander, Wyoming. He manages a 600 head buffalo ranch. So I wound up going out there and spending about almost a week with him. He has this 1800s hunting cabin primitive cabin that I got to hang out in and sleep in that cabin while I was out there, and nothing but wolves and buffalo out there and coyotes, and it was magical. And then it snowed on us, and it was like, got 8 to 10. We were supposed to teach a survival class, and then it snowed like 8 to 10 inches, and everyone's like, no, we're not coming out to play with you guys. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's called Survivor. Wow. Unbelievable. Wow. That's fantastic. Fantastic.
And I tell people I've got a motto, I live life. I say, suck the bone marrow out of life. Suck the bone marrow out of life. That's one of my mottos. Age is just a number. Get out there, experience life. I read in a magazine called Outside one year, how do you kind of change or shake up your life? And in there, the article talked about one of the tips was buy a passport and fill it up. Well, I've been doing it. Actually, mine's about to run out in September. So I've got to renew that sucker, but I've put some stickers in that thing over these last several years since 2012.
Yeah. I'm actually on my I think either third or fourth passport coming on up here right now. So I'm gonna have to renew it again here in another, I think, a year and a half or something of that nature. But no, what I like about like devices like cell phones, the laptop that we're on here right now. I like it for learning. I like it for seeing things, because to me it's like life is nothing but a journey. I want to go and see and do as much as I possibly can. It's
Right.
I'm still that old school guy that I actually, instead of putting it into the electronics of a cell phone, I still do it actually in an actual planner, so that I know what I'm doing and when it's coming up, because I
Yeah,
may head off an area to do one thing, but rest assured, I'll probably pick up one or two other things while I'm out there in that area, because it's just, I like to go and see
absolutely.
things that most people, they just talk about or they read about. I want to see there and
Yeah.
be there with it. So
I use an old clipboard with blank sheets of paper on it. And they're like, why do you do that? I'm like, I have to look at it. I have to see it. If I put in that electronic thing, I'm not going to see it. If I see it, I know I got to do it. And so, yeah, I'm a clipboard and paper guy. Must be
yeah.
from my drill sergeant days.
Well, no, actually, I have, well, even in my training facility, I have nothing but a bunch of clipboards there as well. So I understand what you have. I throw rubber band right on the bottom of it, and now I have a pencil somehow attached to it. And because I'm still, instead of being an ink pen kind of guy, I'm a pencil. So I like to know that I can erase things that make my corrections right then and there on the spot. So
Yeah.
again, I should say, lead by example, right there. It's the pencil with the big eraser onto it, because
Yeah.
I do make a lot of mistakes. Or once I get something done, it's gone. I move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So
So
what else you got there,
I'd
Tony?
like to know more about. So you did you were in Amazon twice, and you were the only person that did that, correct?
Yeah, I'm the only one that's gone to the Peruvian Amazon twice.
Yeah.
Amber and Matt were both in the Ecuadorian Amazon, but it's more of a swampier, mangrovey kind of a feel. The Amazon jungle in Peru is what the storybooks are written about. And so I got 64 days in total there, 3 weeks of it without a bug net. When I got there, they were handing out bug nets. I was like, oh, this is a bonus. You guys are having bug nets? Jeez, I didn't have them the last time I was here, and that was hell.
Yeah.
And so, so I did that, and that was pretty amazing. First guy to do it 3 times. I probably lost the most weight of anybody on the show for 21 days, 40 days, 60 days, and all time. I probably lost 5 fifth graders.
Wow.
Okay, well, give us an example. Like what kind of body weight that you went into a show, and then what did you lose?
So the first one I did, they didn't even have scales. You'd think on a show where you're going to lose weight that you'd have scales. So I went in, I packed on a little extra weight. I went in at 260. At that time, I was working the SEER school, so I was pretty muscular. I went in there, 260. I came out, they're like, how much weight do you think you lost? I'm like, are you kidding me? I don't know, 33 pounds? I know that's what it looks like. I got home 3 days after being extracted, eating for 3 days.
Yeah, eating and drinking for 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And I stepped on the scale, I was 205 pounds. So I really lost probably over 55 pounds.
Oh, officially, I would say easily.
Yeah. So then I went to the Amazon. I got called last minute to go. So then I maybe put 10 pounds on. I was weighing in at like 250, and I lost 44 pounds that time. I went to my first 40-day challenge in Colombia. I packed it on. I think I know I went in at 275, and I lost 73 pounds on that one. I went into my alone challenge up in Bulgaria, and I forget what I went in at, but I lost 52 pounds. I came out at 198. Yeah, I went in at 250. I came out at
a lot of people that will eventually that will see this episode, they'll be like going, geez, I would like to go on the Naked and Afraid diet plan if I could, please. I'm 355 pounds. I want to lose, 70, 80 pounds. I mean, they would, but they probably wouldn't survive very long in the first place, because they're too soft to begin with.
Right. Bulgaria was tough because I was pretty much a vegetarian, and I'd only ate a handful of minnows, 4 crawfish, and 1 15-inch trout because the mammals were. I was trying to. I only had snares set up for the hogs, and then I would spear them, but I never got a hog. And then the wolves were 2 wolf packs had came down to my main hunting area and were trying to run me out of there. So, but I lost 52 pounds in 21 days there, mostly eating fruits and nuts and wild greens. Then I went into the swamps for 60 days. I was 285. On the day they weighed me, I still ate for 4 more days, so it's probably close to 300. I was a big fatty. But it was 60 days, and we're going into winter time. I lost 90 pounds. So I came out. Yeah.
Oh my God. So the way you're talking about food, you don't exactly come across as a vegan here whatsoever. You kind of sound like you really enjoy your meat, a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Carnivore.
Yeah, I'm a Neanderthal. I'm a meat eater. Yeah, give me meat every time. I know greens are important because I almost got impacted on my very first XL challenge in Colombia. I actually got impacted twice. And the first time was after we ate all that eel. We ate so much of it. I was like, I told the guys, there's no way we can eat all this meat in one night. And they're like, we sure as hell will. And I got impacted. It was very dangerous, but I was able to get my stuff moving. And then it happened a second time after that. I just ate little morsels and I stashed my little food away like a squirrel and would eat little portions after that. And then this last challenge, I went in, I did 43 days, I lost 78 pounds. This one.
What about like dehydrating like the meat or something like that? It's like hanging out to dry some of it.
Yeah, we do that quite often because you can't, the eel is eel and fish. I mean, you can smoke fish planks when you cut them in half, the fillets, but eel is very difficult to try and smoke. But gators and other mammals, very easy. So normally if we get a gator or a caiman or something good size, we eat, stew up the meat, do different things, and try to smoke as much as we can to preserve it. And you can always throw it in a pot and reactivate it later with some water,
Are there certain animals or species that you guys aren't allowed to hunt? Like you guys can get in trouble for, or just are there certain rules that they don't tell you, like you can't do this or don't go here?
Good question. There are certain parameters, they kind of boundary you up with the bigger groups for a while, but it's enough space that you don't need to really be bouncing over in someone else's zone. And then there's a list of certain endangered species or other animals you can't touch. And so when you see one, then you're like, damn, I can't touch that bugger. But, and you play by the rules, there's still plenty enough to get after. The bigger problem with hunting comes when you're in an area, 7 to 10 days of being in that area, not just us, but having a camera crew footprint, the animals start leaving the zone. So then
your scent and all of that. Yeah, you put your footprint in there.
Further in, and this time, me and Steven occupied somebody else's camp. And now we're the second group coming there. So, I was the hunter and he was the fisherman. There wasn't really anything for me to really hunt out there. And I went in and one guy that was with Steve Tim left a blow dart gun. I had never used a blow dart gun in my life, but I picked it up, said, all right, this is going to be a steep learning curve, but I'm going to try and hunt with it. I even got poison off a frog's back.
Yeah, I remember I saw that. Did it work at all? I think you hit a snake or something with it, right?
Yeah, I hit a fer-de-lance that was a world record, like a 7-foot fer-de-lance. It was pretty big.
Yeah.
The problem I had that I didn't know till I got out is the locals were like, you should have used the wooden darts you had because the poison stays on it and soaks in it.
Soaks in the wood. That makes sense.
And you put it on the metal darts, which I was using because I felt they would go stick in better, which they did. They would evaporate the poison off of the metal. So
yeah. That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
the little things that you don't think about when you're out there.
But when I hit it, boy, it was messed up. It was biting.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
It was biting everywhere, and then it fell in the water, and that kind of woke it up enough for it to swim off and get up in its hole. I didn't have a good luck this time hunting too well. But
so I saw. So on the towards the end of this episode, I think it was I forget the other guy that you said his name. Matt? No, not the hunter. The other guy you were with. You said you hang out with him a lot.
Steven.
Steven. He you guys, I think he was out and he found the tree that you carved your initials on the first time you were there.
Oh yeah, that was Dan. That was
Dan. Oh, that's right. It was Dan. Okay. Yeah, I got him.
Dan started out as a fan, And then he did 14-day fan challenge. He did 21 days and his partner quit. So he did that alone.
Mm-hmm.
So he came out here, he hit the 40 mark, said, I'm going to go to 60. And so it was really amazing that he had found those initials that I had carved in that tree 8 years to the day.
Yeah.
When me and Laura were first there. And where those initials was where the exact spot where Laura and I built a treehouse.
Okay.
The treehouse wasn't there anymore. There was nothing left of what we had.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you where it was. If it was so that's actually, I remember that in some of the houses and the shelters you have built, everything from your backpacks, and you build shoes, the boats, and then how you improve on everything. Like this one, you added a canopy to your boat this time.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it goes back to lessons learned. When me and Laura first paddled out, we were on the river for 3 days. We got all burnt up, and that sun on the river is brutal. And I knew that the 6 of us, we had a long journey, that if we were going to be out there in that sun and dehydrating, then you got to stop, pull over, boil water, it just wastes time. I was like, I'm going to put a canopy up here because I really wish we would have had one last time.
Yeah. The first time you guys got caught in that storm and had to stop a few miles before, you didn't even realize how close you probably were. But
2 miles from our original extraction point, that storm came in, actually flooded out the extraction point. We had a road to another location to get on the helicopters. And it was, when that storm came in, I could feel the electricity from the static electricity from the lightning hitting the river on the tributary. And my hair was standing up on the back of my neck. I was like, we got to get off this thing or we're in trouble. And we got off of it. There was nowhere to hide. She had a little bread basket she had made. We put that over top of us, had a few palms over us, and huddled up. And that was 5, almost 6 hours of torrential downpour. You'd think in the Amazon, where it's super hot and humid during the day, you wouldn't get hypothermia. And we were speaking in tongues at the moment I grabbed her and said, let's go row. They're about to tap us out. And I was like, no, you're not tapping us. Hell no. And so we just started rowing to get our blood going again. That's probably the closest I've come to being in risk of being tapped. Even in the swamps, when I speared my testicles and had them sewn up, no local anesthesia, just their girl comes out, she get ready to numb me up. I'm like, what are you doing? Put that away. It's a sack. Just start stitching. Because the sun's going down. I got to collect firewood. So she stitched me up. That was day 27. Stayed 33 more days in the Legends episode in the Atchafalaya Swamp Basin. I've been by myself for 2 weeks. And then Max and Gary showed up the next day, but I finished 33 more days. And on that episode, to get off my island, I had been on my island 46 days, which was at that time the longest anyone had stayed in one camp. And it was my birthday that day. I turned 55. We rode out and you saw it took us 10 days to cut out and burn out a actual dugout canoe that, the Indians had used probably 10,000 years earlier. That was pretty epic boat.
Yep. Yeah. You've made some awesome stuff, man. Everything that I've seen. It's crazy. I like your backpacks. Are awesome.
Yeah. And that's where I get to show my creativity in the things I make. So, and it takes time to do that stuff. And nothing but time out there when you're surviving. You got nothing but time. So
got to make the best of it. Well, you mind going over some of your injuries? I know I've seen you from your first one. You had that thorn right away after a few days. You got a thorn in your foot that got infected. I've seen you hack your shin. Yeah. Let's go over.
Tony's on it. Whoa, the Frankenstein that is EJ Snyder. So the first season, my big injury was I stepped on a thorn day 2, acacia thorn. They're real good about going in, and they're about as long as your finger, not as thick, but they're that long. And they go in easy and they come out very brittle. So it broke apart. I had about a 1/2-inch shard up in my foot for almost over 2 weeks. It festered so bad that they thought it was going to go into my bloodstream. So the producer stepped in because my life was at risk as they felt. I felt fine. I was going to cauterize it with a knife. And then that rainstorm came in and it was like, well, I can't do that now. So they took me to the bush doctor, gallon of alcohol, safety pin, razor blade. Let's go. No local numbing, slashes it, digs in there, dumps the alcohol on there. Pus is shooting up over his shoulder, bouncing off the tent. I'm screaming. Kelly's holding my hand. And then I got up and I walked 8 miles 2 days later to get to the base of the mountain that we were going to climb 1,500 feet to get to the top of it to extract out of there.
What did you have as footwear at that time? Because I know that you have you're naked and afraid. So I mean, what did you make?
Good question, Dan. I was basically a shoe cobbler out there. I was making bark sandals, and I cut 14 pairs of bark shoes out there. And Kelly, they were bothering her feet, so I started making her a wooden sandal. And I had made one, and she loved it, very comfortable. So I started working on the second one. That's when my knife broke. But I started making bark shoes. They worked out pretty well. And they were great as long as, like, Kelly used to run around in the riverbed on the rocks, and it would break them really, really fast. And if you were just out on the ground on the savannah, it was really good against the thorns. So I had bark shoes, and that's what I walked out in. But I walked 8 miles on that foot that they had just cut open. And then in the Amazon, I was using a knife that wasn't mine. It was Laura's. It was probably the 5th day. And I'm hacking on poles to build our tree house. I'm getting down to the last few for the day. It's starting to drizzle. I hack through this tree, goes right through the tree, and doesn't stop until it plants itself into my left shin bone. So I'm looking at this knife, and I'm like, shit. And I pull it out. Blood's shooting out. I'm like, oh gosh. I put my hand over it. The camera guy says, what's going on, mate? What's going on? I'm like, I don't want to say nothing. I'm like, Laura, I need your help. So Laura comes running. We start patching it up. They're like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, I'm going to wait till the morning because it's raining right now. When the sun comes up, I'm going to go over to that ant pile over there, grab some of those bullet ants, and I'm going to make them bite into the cut and close it up. It acts like a little bit of an anesthesia, and you twist the head off, and the head stays in the wound. And then when the wound's healed, the head just falls off naturally. And then they were like, they looked at me and they're like, you're serious, right? I'm like, yeah, that's how they do it here in the Amazon. It was a new producer. The medic was freaked out, thought I was going to lose my leg. They overruled me. They stitched me up. I got 7 stitches. In Colombia, I don't think I ever had a very bad injury other than I got backed up. And then in Bulgaria, before I went in the challenge, I'm riding on the little truck and we're doing the B-roll. You know, EJ's running up and running down. So I'm sitting on the tailgate of this small, like a Toyota type truck. It was some Russian truck. And the guy's rolling along and he hits a pothole. I dump out the back like a skin diver, and I land with all my weight, all 250 pounds on the crown of my head. I hear everything go, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And I roll over and I'm face down. And I hear the camera guy going, mate, you okay? You okay? And I'm like, oh my God, I just broke my freaking neck. I heard everything pop. Yeah. I start wiggling my fingers. I'm like, okay, they're working. Wiggle my toes. Okay. Let me get my knees up underneath me. And I kind of like sat up and I was like dizzy as all get out. And I was like, all right, I'm coming to the truck. I stood up and started walking towards the truck. And they're like, where's the truck? Where's like, mate, it's right in front of you. I'm like, I got a hold of that tailgate and I was like, oh my God, what the hell? You guys trying to kill me? He's like, and he's filming me. He's like, mate, you want to go home now, right? You probably don't want to finish this now. And it was like, we weren't even in the challenge yet. And I'm like, buddy, you don't know EJ Snyder. I didn't come all 5,000 miles to go home now. Let's get going. Just give me some aspirin so I can get this headache gone. Let's get going. So that was a pretty rough one.
I mean, when you woke up the next day, were you all stiff and hurt, or you know, from that?
Yeah, my neck was super stiff. But thankfully, you know, I've always.
But you never had to have an X-ray onto it. Just
never,
good to go.
Never broke. Just was a good readjustment, I guess. Thankfully, I've always worked my neck out, you know, for the fighting days, and made sure even for football, I always had a super strong neck. So that probably saved me. And that particular episode, before we go back to injuries, I probably got pretty close to hypothermia that night. I didn't have any furs like I did in the swamps. And I lost my fire. They never showed it on the episode, but I lost my fire. I was having to do bow drill fires. And at that place, you could only bow drill between 1 and 3 in the afternoon when the sun was highest and the hottest. because there would be a cold breeze blowing in there. It would get the mist would come in, and water and wind are the enemies of fire. And so I'm bow drilling away, can't get a fire. That was the longest 14 hours of my life. The weather it got down about 28 degrees that night. I'm dancing all over the place. I'm singing, I'm hollering. I'm trying to climb up under yellow grass to get warm. I climbed up under leaves. The next morning, I'm sitting there and I'm surrounded in my valley by tall peaks, 360 degrees. So the sun, even though it's up at 6, I got to wait till 8 o'clock for it to clear the ridge. So I'm sitting there in a yoga, cross-legged position, palms up, meditating, praying. Oh, and I hear the crew come up and they whisper, "Holy shit, he's still fucking here." And I stand up and I scream and I go, "Yeah! And goddamn right, I'm still here. Let's get fired today because I'm fucking half froze. Let's go." And I finished that challenge. And that challenge, on the other side of the ridge from where I was over the mountain, they sent in a regular Naked and Afraid 21-day team, a man and a woman. The guy quit on day 2. The girl was by herself for several days. She was starting to get ready to go. And they were like, I'm like, I heard that she was by herself. And I was like, I had like a week left or something. I was like, well, no one should be out here alone. I've been out here for 2 weeks by myself. When I'm done here, I'll go help her. And they're like, really? So they ran that up the flagpole. I thought that would have been pretty cool going in to help someone else finish their challenge. And they were like, the timing, the girl was getting ready to tap. So they're like, we got to get someone in there now. So they sent another guy in. 2 days later, she wound up tapping anyway, and then he tapped the next day. So 4 people went to Bulgaria, and only I came out.
Wow.
Then, of course, we know the swamps. I decided to split up, try to spear my meatballs, and castrate myself. Don't want to repeat that, but it definitely was puts you on the map for being hardcore for sure.
Hell yeah.
And then thankfully this challenge, other than what I went in with, 3 broken toes, a bad back, and hypothyroidism with a severely failing thyroid.
Oh, that's all.
I didn't do anything out there to worsen my situation.
Wow.
And you still
okay.
And there was one other thing I had that I forgot. I had got bit by a wild dog on my left hand, so that was still healing up before I went out there. I keep forgetting about that one.
Well, okay, but did that happen domestically? What back?
Yeah, domestically. Yeah, domestically. I just didn't
the wildcat take you out, so something domestically might.
Yeah, it was a wild dog. It was in I forget where I saw him at. He was coming up like he was hungry, so I went to feed him something, and then he got scared or whatever, and bit my left hand. I was like, "You little." He had a strong jaw. It was a mess.
Grateful there. Oh, yeah. EJ, you're familiar with the other program known as Survivor, right?
Yes.
There's Naked and Afraid, and then there's Survivor. Naked and Afraid, basically 2 people typically go out there, usually a man and woman. Then you got Survival, where it's a group of I think of 6 people. I might be wrong on the numbers here right
Survivor?
now. But yeah, Survivor. Where usually they set up a group.
Survivor's normally 18 people. I think one season they did 20.
Okay.
And they divide
up into 2 teams, and again through a whole series of ways that they get their two verse teams.
2 teams. Sometimes it's been 3 tribes. That's when they do like the 18. They'll do 3 tribes. I applied for that show like 14 times or something like that. And I was a finalist, semi-finalist in season 13. They switched the program up to be more, it was the ethnic season where they had the Hispanic tribe, Asian tribe, African-American tribe, Caucasian tribe. So my peg as a skull-wearing, loudmouth, big muscle dude, that peg, wasn't, I didn't fit any of the pegs. So it was Billy Garcia, a good friend of mine, did. He's a underground wrestler. Then they came back in season 21, and it was the over 40, under 30 season, and they picked me up. And I went out there, tried out, made the final cast, and I was good to go. And then they called me up a few days later after I was already done and through. EJ, we're going a different direction. Jimmy Johnson, the football coach, cleared his medicals because he was a super Survivor fan. 2 years earlier, he had tried out for Survivor and he found out he had a bad heart. So Survivor basically saved his life. He changed his eating habits, his fitness, stopped smoking, drinking. So he cleared medicals. I'm a Giants fan, and they sent in the Dallas Cowboys coach. That was not real fun. But what happened was that got my name out there in the casting world of adventure type programming. And it's probably part of the reason why Discovery found me, because my name was bouncing all over different reality TV shows at that point.
Wow. I mean, incredible. I just, because I kept thinking, just from listening to you and talking to you here now, you seem like you get along with people just fine right there, because you've got your strong traits. I kept thinking, but if you were to put it to be one of these challenges, would you be better on your own, or would you be better in one of these group situations? Because you are definitely an alpha male. Okay,
Yeah,
there's no two ways about it. So I didn't know how well you would take to a group versus
right. I do really well actually in groups. I'm really good by myself. I'm good in twos. I'm good in groups. That's probably one of the most underrated survival skills you could have is group dynamics and understanding how people skills, understanding people's needs. And part of leadership is putting your best players where they're best needed and put them, you do this well, you go there. You do this well, you go there. And managing people and managing drama and personalities and juggling them and keeping your finger on the pulse, that stuff's really important. That keeps that's the glue that keeps, survival communities together. So someone has to be kind of the chief and in charge in terms of just managing that stuff. Not saying I'm going to be a dictator and say, you got to go do this, but there are times where a tough decision has to be made and somebody has to make it. Yeah, that's just what it is. Getting into a situation like this, everyone needs to throw the proverbial resumes on the table. Who's the most qualified and best qualified to lead us in the situation? Yeah. Don't let your ego get in there. Just because you ran an ice cream shop doesn't trump the full bird colonel who's been to Iraq 3 times and is full of medals. That dog don't hunt. Yeah. They're hunters, then they're gatherers, and then there's So no, I get it all. But I think I would fare well. I would be miscalculated in a game like Survivor because people would see me as a big, loud, brooding kind of a guy, but I'm highly calculating, highly intelligent. And I've been studying that game for 40 seasons now. So I know how it's played inside and out. I understand the social dynamics. And my big X factor when dealing with people is when I was in the SEER school, I had to portray a enemy bad guy. So they sent me to all these different schools to learn how to question people, how to see verbals and nonverbals, know when people are handing you a bill of sales and lying, to knowing how to question people and get answers that they don't know they're giving you, profiling people, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of a ace under my hat kind of a skill. Yeah. The only thing that I disliked about the Survivor is like going, they'll keep you along because you're going to make certain that they get food, they get shelter, they've got the water, they've got fire, you got all the elements like going, now you're one of the biggest threats, you're the biggest asset in the beginning, now you're one of the biggest threats, we need to vote you out. That's what I didn't like about that. And what you need to do is just you have to, the biggest mistake a lot of provider types do in Survivor is they do that and then they forget about the other part of it is making sure those people, you're having relationships, you understand who their kids are, where they grew up, some of their faves and their non-faves, things they like to eat, or they have a favorite hobby. All those are very important things to know about a person to make sure you're relating to them on a personal level, not just, hey, here's some more fish, eat. And then always, you always have, us older guys, we always had those bad knees, and so I'm not going to be an individual challenge threat because I got, we've been doing this team events and I did okay, but, I think during one of those challenges, my right knee is a little bummed. I'm not going to be able to be a threat for you to take your individual immunity idol. And then that one I needed most, that's when my knees miraculously is better. I thought you had a bad knee. Oh, it must have got better. It must have been all that fish oil I put on it.
Is there anybody that you just did not get along with on your shows, like on the Naked and Afraid?
I pride myself really in the art of people, people skills that I've learned through the years of growing up, being bullied, dealing with people, knowing how to become a 285-pound guy with 20-inch arms and having kind of an intimidating stare. You got to learn how to speak to people so you can put them at ease. I love telling jokes. I love making people laugh. So I have a very good sense of humor. I like to have a good time. And so I don't care. The cards you get dealt, even in a real life survival situation, you have to play them. And so anytime I wear my emotions on my sleeve, if you're bothering me, you're going to know it because I'm going to start making faces and it just happens. I got a kind of a rubberized Jim Carrey face and you're going to know exactly what I'm feeling. You're going to feel it coming off of me. And I don't hold on to negativity in my life anymore. I got to deal with it. Yeah. And I'm going to pull you aside right then and there. And we're going to handle it. Yeah. Like me and Max, like men right there on the spot. We had a respect for each other. We had love for each other. Let's just kill this so we can keep being a good team. I had a situation with Suzanne who felt like she was being a sidekick. And I was like, honey, you're no sidekick. You got value. I value you. You helped me and Sarah build a great shelter. She was just intimidated by my reputation and who I was before she even gave me a chance to let her do her thing. And she took the fish hooks. I'm like, girl, you hadn't even put a fish hook in one yet. I can't fish. I'm terrible. I'm the worst fisherman on the planet. Please go fish because we need to eat and be a hero in that sense. And so even Amber and I've known Amber a long time. I've known her husband longer. He's a knife maker. And she's like a sister. I love her.
Yeah, she's
Did
good.
she get on my nerves out there? Absolutely. She got on my nerves. Did I probably get on her? Sure. You haven't had a cheeseburger involved, but we dealt with it on and off camera. You got to have those conversations continually to make sure, if something's irritating you, that little thing out there can become a monstrous thing. And if it becomes cancerous, it affects the rest of the group. Man, you got to put that thing to bed quick. So, I mean, I've had some cast do some unscrupulous things outside of the thing, but we're a crazy family. You don't have to like everybody, just respect each other, get along. And, if I would never do what they did to me in public or make those remarks or do those certain things. But they have to live with that. That's on them. That's not on me. Nothing I can just say, like I've openly said publicly, I forgive you guys, both of you, you know who you are. And that's it. I have nothing but love in my heart for you. And it's over. That's it. You can't do nothing about what's back there. You can't. You can only learn from it and you can only move forward. That's it. In life, that's what it is.
Well, actually, I keep looking at the
what's back there. Well, that guy FJB, we could do something about that though. So that don't count.
I get a kick out of the one. I look at the one photo over your right shoulder there, and I mean the bottom photo. It actually reminds me more of the Arnold Schwarzenegger picture from his one movie. What movie am I? Yes, this one reminds me of that
Predator.
What am I thinking of there, Tony? When he's out in the bush with
Predator.
Predator.
Yeah, that was the swamps of Florida. We had one deer pelt. I put that over like a cloak, and I had this little stick going through it. And thank God we had that. It was so cold. And then I know you see that one up there. That's from Colombia, and that one was the first XL. And then this one behind here is a show I did called Mountain Masters. I don't know if the cameras they got a little light.
No, it's seen it nicely.
But that one, I hosted a show where they did survival skills challenges all the way up the mountain, and we voted one person out based on what they performed and presented us. And then we did it to the second person, and the last two fought up the mountain. First one who put their axe in the stump won $10,000, titled Mountain Master. And we filmed that was just a pilot, one episode. We're waiting to see if that thing's doing anything else. And then over here on the stair, we've got up in the back corner, there's me and Jeff doing dual survival. Let's see, there's me and Jeff up top there. Jeff was out there with me on this one. He's my second longest partner at 53 days or 52.
Wow.
And then
No,
that's
okay,
British guy.
but that all was in Thailand.
No, up there, that one was Brazil. That picture right there.
Okay.
Now that one's Thailand. That's northern
Okay.
Thailand. That's me and Ed Stafford. Ed Stafford he's the first man to walk the entirety of the Amazon River from Peru all the way to Brazil. He wrote a book, Walking the Amazon. He's a British guy doing all these adventure shows. He was the first guy to go out naked on an island by himself with no tools at all for like 60 days. And then he was out in the Fijian island. And then we did like 3 months later, we're filming Naked and Afraid. And then lastly, there's me. Last time I was in Iraq. I don't know if that's very well, you can see that.
Yep. No.
So that's just one of my promo posters that I do these appearances. So everyone's like, oh, there he is. Makes a nice backdrop.
Yeah, it's really nice.
EJ, what can I say? You're just an American badass. That's what I think. You and I would have a good time together. That's all I know. We get along just fine.
Sure we would, buddy. Coming from one badass to another, I'm honored. I like I said, you have carved a great way of your own in your business, and I was been a fan since day one of you. I still go back and watch all the clips and find you on YouTube and all the old fights, and I just have always enjoyed your career.
Well, part of our purpose here with doing this podcast here, we're just going to, because a lot of people, when they've heard that, Don Fry and I were going to start to do something like this, they kept thinking it was going to be just done about fighting. I go, we'll jump into all the things that we've done. I like amateur wrestling, so I like to talk to amateur wrestlers. I like to talk to professional wrestlers. I like to talk to cage fighters. But then also, I want great Americans. I want people that took risk. I want people that have become successful business people. I want people that have that American spirit. I've got Tony and I, we got different people that are lined up that they've come to the United States the right way. Immigrants that have come to our country the right way, and they don't like what's happening at our borders and things of that nature. I want them to come on our show and let them speak out against what is wrong with the United States, because it's great to hear from someone that has come to our country for someplace else, and to know they did it the right way. That's the way everybody else should be doing it.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, there's a right way to do things, and there's a wrong way to do things, and then it's called having proper leadership, and we don't have leadership in our country right now. We have such a quagmire of
problems.
Yeah, yes, lots of problems. So
lots of problems and very little solutions, at least coming from where the problems originating from.
Yes,
there's definitely enough answers out there, and they need to happen pretty soon, or things are going to be in really bad shape.
Yep. Well, again, you might be selling a lot of your bug out kits, or a lot more people will be tuning into those videos there, because they're going to need to know how to survive.
Yeah, they sure will. And just gone over to ejsnyder.com, folks. Sign up with your email. You'll get all the alerts, newsletters, blogs, updates, special sales that are only for folks in the Skull Crusher Nation, and things like this patch here and different things. We're building fast. We're growing, so you don't want to miss out. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok at EJ Snyder333. Over on Facebook, look for the blue check, EJ Snyder, 103,000 followers, so go with the original, not any fake imitations that might be out there.
Nope.
Well, Tony, I think that's a wrap. I think we've got, unless you got anything else you want to plug your EJ, I'll give you all the time in the world, because you are a true American. You got that can-do spirit, and we'd actually love to have you on probably in a future episode to talk about a few more specific type of things. Don't know what that is right now, but something a little bit more specifically, but might be what the state of the country at that point in time.
Yeah. I would love to come back. I do stuff like this all the time. I'm actually working on getting a position, at least a regular CMI mug regularly on Fox News quite a bit, maybe Fox Nation. I'm going to be a guest on Dan Bongino's show probably after this. You can go to my Twitter page. Normally it's posted somewhere there in the video feed, but Dan keeps having me back. He's a great American.
I love watching Dan Bongino. Yep,
Yeah.
he's something I listen
straight
to all the
talker.
time.
Yeah,
Yes, he
straight
is.
talker. So just go to EJSnyder.com. We've got a brand new Mountain Predator knife called it's a survival Bowie knife. I collaborated with Stroop Knives, a veteran-owned company that's locally in Hope Mills, North Carolina, right next to Fort Bragg. He's a veteran who hires only veterans and former police officers and got family members in there making these knives. And that knife is a really good survival knife. It's a Bowie knife called the Mountain Predator. You can find it on my website. We got everything, all your needs covered though in survival, whether it's gear, training, and you want to get over there, you can find it all right there at ejsnyder.com. I appreciate the time. Look forward to being back here again. America, remember why we were founded.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate having on there. That concludes another episode of Toxic Masculinity. And if we happen to offend or defend anybody and everybody, well, put your man pants back on, because we are a toxic masculinity type of a show and program here to entertain and enlighten all in the same breath. Thank you there, EJ, for coming on with this evening.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, EJ. Thank you for your service.
Take care.
Thank you for watching another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity. You better like, subscribe, and share, or I'm going to come to your house.